We're watching and following this and
I'll address the things as the supervisor. There will be no comment or behavior.
Dalton, Illinois, once a peaceful village known for its strong community bonds, has descended into turmoil under the leadership of Mayor Tiffany Henyard and Deputy Police Chief Lacey. What was once a tranquil place has become a political battleground, with mounting accusations of corruption, financial mismanagement, and political manipulation. The appointment of Lacey as police chief, initially seen as a routine administrative decision, quickly became a symbol of Henyard's increasing control over local governance. Critics argue that Lacey's selection was not based on merit or public service commitment, but rather on her alignment with the mayor's political interests. This set a dangerous precedent, where loyalty outweighed qualifications, leaving Dalton's residents to suffer the consequences. As trust in local leadership eroded, it became clear that decisions impacting public safety and village administration were driven more by political expediency than the community's welfare. Henyard's leadership became synonymous with favoritism, lack of transparency, and a growing focus on advancing her personal ambitions at the village's expense. Lacey's appointment marked a pivotal moment, signaling Henyard's willingness to stifle dissent and silence opposition. Described by critics as a loyal enforcer, Lacey supported the mayor's most controversial decisions, helping to suppress those who dared to question her leadership. Once celebrated for its ethos of community and open governance, Dalton now finds itself struggling to reclaim its former reputation. Public opinion has sharply divided, with Henyard's supporters, often those benefiting from her regime, calling her the best mayor since 1990. In contrast, an increasing number of disillusioned residents regret the shift from a service-oriented administration to one defined by opaque processes and political maneuvering. This shift in Dalton's governance has raised serious concerns about the future of the village. Critics argue that Henyard's focus on building a loyal inner circle has led to systemic flaws, undermining public trust and stifling civic engagement. While a select few have benefited from this consolidation of power, the broader community has been left to contend with diminished trust in public institutions, a lack of representation, and a government increasingly focused on personal gain rather than the collective good. Many fear the damage may take years to repair. The controversy surrounding Lacey's appointment and the subsequent legal challenges have underscored the growing tension between Henyard's administration and Dalton's residents. In one particularly striking instance, a judge issued a temporary restraining order, preventing Henyard from making certain appointments without prior approval. This legal rebuke was a reminder of the increasingly controversial nature of both Lacey's role and Henyard's leadership style. Lacey's role in suppressing opposition has been heavily criticized. Allegedly, she used coercive tactics to intimidate trustees who questioned the mayor's financial decisions and silenced activists advocating for the community's welfare. As Dalton grapples with these revelations, Lacey's loyalty to Henyard rather than the people of Dalton has deepened the divide between the administration and its citizens. Many residents now view Lacey as a key player in the mayor's efforts to maintain control, furthering distrust between the two sides. Despite Henyard's supporters continuing to champion her as a visionary leader, many in the broader community are questioning whether the administration's actions reflect a genuine desire to improve Dalton or merely a selfing strategy to secure personal power. Dalton's situation has become a cautionary tale of the dangers of unchecked power and a lack of accountability. While the judge's intervention temporarily curtailed Henyard's authority, it has done little to rebuild public trust in an administration many believe is prioritizing its own interests over the community's well-being. As the village struggles to recover from the damage caused by Henyard's leadership, the path forward remains uncertain. Residents now face the challenge of dismantling entrenched systems of favoritism and opacity while advocating for a governance model that prioritizes the common good, transparency, and accountability. Dalton's future depends on the ability of its citizens to demand meaningful reforms and hold their leaders accountable. Only through collective action can Dalton hope to restore its reputation as a community governed by integrity, trust, and a genuine commitment to serving the needs of all residents. The stakes have never been higher as the battle for Dalton's future unfolds amidst growing scrutiny of Henyard's administration. Tensions in the village have reached a boiling point. The once peaceful community is now a battleground, with accusations of financial mismanagement, corruption, and abuse of power rampant. The stark contrast between Henyard's loyal inner circle and the broader, increasingly dissatisfied community has created a deeply divided atmosphere. Despite fears of retaliation, residents have continued to speak out, prompting Henyard to respond with legal action, filing a civil lawsuit against those who have criticized her administration. The consequences of Henyard's leadership are clear: the village's institutions are weakened, trust in public officials has evaporated, and a community that once prided itself on its harmony is now grappling with the fallout from a leader who prioritized personal ambition over the common good. The scandal surrounding Henyard and Lacey's administration has escalated to new heights. Once considered loyal allies, several village trustees have broken ranks and begun exposing the full extent of the corruption within Dalton's government. Lacey, once the mayor's enforcer, now finds himself embroiled in a legal battle. Allegations of tax evasion, civil rights violations, and the misuse of public funds have mounted against him. In a dramatic turn of events, even the police union, which had previously supported Lacey, issued a statement calling for his imprisonment. As the pressure mounts, reports indicate that Lacey, once a stoic defender of Henyard, is beginning to crack under the strain. In a last-ditch effort to save himself, Lacey has started cooperating with authorities. His cooperation marks a sharp break from his past loyalty to the mayor, and he now faces multiple legal challenges, including investigations into his role in the misuse of public funds. The once unshakable loyalty between Lacey and Henyard has shattered, as both their political futures are now in jeopardy. Dalton, once a proud and peaceful village, now stands at a crossroads. The question remains: can it rise above the crisis, rebuild its institutions, and restore the values that once made it a thriving community? Only time will tell if Dalton can overcome the turmoil caused by Henyard's controversial administration and emerge stronger with a renewed commitment to transparency, accountability, and the well-being of all its residents. The situation surrounding Lisa Lacey and Tiffany Henyard escalated rapidly, with tensions reaching a fever pitch. One local resident even went so far as to suggest that Lacey should serve a life sentence for his crimes. Court testimony revealed the full extent of their involvement in corrupt activities, shining a light on the deep-seated corruption within Dalton's government. Long suspicious of Lacey's appointment as deputy police chief, residents began questioning the legitimacy of his swearing-in process, raising concerns about whether it was legal or another example of questionable behavior. Rumors surrounding Lacey's appointment, combined with a growing number of lawsuits demanding accountability for the misuse of public funds, only deepened the public's mistrust. As the truth came to light, it became clear that Henyard's hold on power was unraveling. Her once sterling reputation was in tatters, and Dalton, a town once proud of its small-town charm, found itself at the center of a political disaster. The village became embroiled in a court case, with Henyard and Lacey facing legal challenges that exposed the deep corruption within their administration. What had once been a peaceful community was now the subject of public discussions about abuse of power, financial mismanagement, and the erosion of trust in local leadership. Lacey's fall from grace symbolized the collapse of Henyard's political empire. As his legal troubles mounted, Dalton's residents were left to contend with the consequences of a government that had prioritized personal ambition over the public good. The scandal left a lasting scar on the community, as the village struggled to rebuild trust in its leadership. Both Henyard and Lacey faced mounting legal battles and increasing public disillusionment. Dalton's future appeared uncertain as the scandal had shaken the village to its core, shattering the community's once unwavering faith in its leaders. The downfall of Henyard and Lacey served as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the crucial importance of accountability in public office. The road to recovery would be long and uncertain, but the residents' demand for justice and reform remained a powerful force for change. Dalton, Illinois, once a tranquil village known for its close-knit community, is now at the epicenter of a political storm that has rocked its residents to their core. The actions of Mayor Tiffany Henyard and Deputy Police Chief Lacey have triggered a scandal that has left the village mired in financial mismanagement, corruption, and a staggering loss of public trust. The once peaceful town, where locals could rely on their government to act in their best interests, now faces a crisis that could forever alter its reputation and future. At the heart of Dalton's turmoil lies Henyard's leadership, which became increasingly marked by an abuse of power and a blatant disregard for the well-being of the community. Having served in office for several years, Henyard surrounded herself with loyalists who helped her maintain control over the village, paying little attention to the concerns of the public. Lacey, her deputy, acted as her enforcer, silencing dissent and shielding Henyard from scrutiny. Their actions, including financial mismanagement and coercion of those who questioned them, left Dalton residents questioning the integrity of their local government and wondering if they would ever regain trust in their leadership. One of the most damaging revelations to emerge from the scandal was the misuse of public funds for personal luxuries. Reports of extravagant spending, such as an $85,000 party funded by taxpayers, sparked outrage among residents. These lavish expenditures, which prioritized the desires of Henyard and her inner circle over the village's needs, further fueled the public's distrust. Even more troubling were smaller, yet equally concerning expenditures, such as over $3,000 spent on Amazon using village funds. These instances revealed a pattern of financial mismanagement that left Dalton's finances in disarray and caused many locals to feel their tax dollars were being wasted for personal gain. As the investigation into these expenditures and the broader scope of Henyard's administration continues, the public's anger has only intensified. The village, once a symbol of community togetherness, now serves as a cautionary tale of unchecked power and corruption. What began as whispers about questionable financial practices quickly escalated into a full-blown scandal, with federal investigators now involved. Subpoenas have been issued as part of a broader investigation, and more secrets are likely to surface in the coming months. The scandal has left Dalton residents with a deep sense of betrayal. They trusted their leaders to manage the village's resources responsibly and to serve the collective good. Instead, they discovered that their leaders were more focused on consolidating power and enriching themselves at the expense of the public. The village's reputation, once built on trust and community, has been irreparably damaged. Many now wonder if Dalton can ever recover from the devastation caused by Henyard and Lacey's reign. As the investigation into the administration's financial misconduct unfolds, the community's frustration has reached a boiling point. The public is demanding accountability for the misuse of taxpayer funds and the abuse of power that has plagued their leadership. The road to recovery will be long and uncertain, but the demand for justice and reform continues to drive the community's push for change. Despite mounting opposition and legal challenges, Mayor Tiffany Henyard remains defiant. Recently, she announced her intention to run for re-election, a decision that has sparked mixed reactions. Some view it as a testament to her resilience, while others see it as an act of arrogance and attempt to cling to power amid overwhelming evidence of corruption. Henyard's decision to pursue re-election is a bold move, especially with the growing discontent among Dalton's residents. Her challengers, led by trustee Jason House, have launched a vigorous campaign focused on ethical reform and restoring accountability in Dalton's government. House and his team are dedicated to rebuilding the public's trust by addressing the issues that plagued Henyard's administration, including financial mismanagement, corruption, and the erosion of public trust. House's platform emphasizes transparency, accountability, and moral leadership. He has been outspoken in his criticism of Henyard's tenure, accusing her of fostering favoritism and abusing power. In a recent interview, House stressed that his campaign aims to restore integrity to Dalton's government and ensure that public funds benefit the community, not personal interests. House and his supporters are determined to confront Henyard directly, exposing the corruption under her leadership and pushing for meaningful reform. Despite the mounting evidence against her, Henyard has shown no signs of backing down. She continues to defend her actions, dismissing the criticism as politically motivated and accusing her opponents of orchestrating smear campaigns to undermine her leadership. Henyard maintains that she is the best candidate to lead Dalton, and she insists that her decision to run is driven by her commitment to serve the village for another 4 years. She remains steadfast in her belief that her leadership is in the best interests of Dalton, despite the growing opposition and mounting scrutiny. As election day approaches, the stakes have never been higher. The community is deeply divided, with many wondering if Henyard can survive the rising tide of opposition. House and his team are focused on exposing the flaws in Henyard's leadership, while Henyard continues to cling to power, claiming her re-election will restore stability to the village. The outcome of this election will be crucial in determining whether Dalton can begin the difficult process of healing and reform or whether it will continue down a path of corruption and disarray. Meanwhile, the federal investigation into Henyard and Lacey's actions is intensifying. More revelations are likely to surface as the inquiry continues, further exposing the extent of the corruption within Dalton's government. The investigation is not only focusing on the misuse of public funds but also on potential civil rights violations and other abuses of power. Lacey, once seen as Henyard's loyal enforcer, now faces his own mounting legal challenges, with accusations ranging from tax evasion to civil rights violations. His involvement in the scandal has cast even more scrutiny on Henyard's leadership, leaving many to question how such corruption was allowed to thrive under her watch. As the investigation continues, the community is left grappling with the consequences of Henyard and Lacey's actions. The damage to Dalton's reputation may be irreversible, and the process of rebuilding trust in local government will be long and difficult. However, the residents of Dalton are not ready to give up on their town. They are determined to hold their leaders accountable and demand a government that values transparency, ethical behavior, and the public good. The upcoming election will be a defining moment for Dalton. The community's ability to recover from the damage caused by Henyard's leadership depends on whether voters are willing to demand change and support candidates who prioritize the needs of the many over the interests of a few. If Jason House and his team are successful, Dalton may be able to reclaim its values of integrity, fairness, and community service. If Henyard manages to hold on to power, however, the village may continue to suffer under the weight of corruption and mismanagement. Dalton's story has become a symbol of the dangers of unchecked authority and the critical importance of holding public officials accountable for their actions. With the federal investigation, growing political opposition, and the community's demand for change, it's clear that the people of Dalton will no longer tolerate the corruption and abuse of power that has plagued their leadership for so long. Whether Henyard and Lacey will ultimately be held accountable remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: Dalton is at a crossroads. The future of the village and its ability to rebuild its reputation hinges on the collective resolve of its residents to demand transparency, integrity, and ethical leadership in government. As the investigation unfolds and the election draws near, Dalton's story is no longer just about local politics. It has become a larger reflection of the challenges communities face when corruption takes root in their institutions. This moment of reckoning could be the catalyst for lasting change in Dalton, but only if its residents are willing to take a stand and fight for the values that define effective and equitable leadership.